Good morning, internet land. Country Marro here, coming to you with another tomato video. Why I'm coming to you guys with another tomato video? For most people in any grow zone now, it's warming up for them, and tomato is a warm weather crop and it's a simple one to grow. So I just want to give you guys my tip on growing tomato, the easy way or my way. Alright, so in a video 2 weeks ago, I show you guys, or 3 weeks ago, I show you guys how I cut my suckers from an existing plant and put them into water for about 7 days, after which I transplanted them into the soil. Reason being, when I do these suckers like this and put them in the soil, I don't have to wait, I don't have to sow a seed and wait 8 to 12 weeks before I can go and transplant. I already have an existing plant with suckers which I can just put into water, have them rooted, and then put them in the ground, and they will be flowering and bearing in a short space. Okay, now that I take you guys around to this plant, this is another tomato plant that went through this winter with me. So this plant has been here for about 8 months now, and it continues going, thriving. It has a lot of, it has a few tomatoes on it, maybe about 12 tomatoes right now, but that's not the point that I'm trying to bring across to you guys. This plant has been consistently fruiting for the past 4 or so months, consistently. We may not be getting 6 tomatoes off it per day, but it's a family of 4, and you can eat a tomato from it every single day when you calculate it on how it bears. So for backyard gardeners or urban homesteaders, this is a method that you guys can try. Stop cutting back your tomatoes, stop pruning them heavy, because you won't get that longevity out of your tomato. That's what I should say. You won't get the longevity out of your tomatoes. You're looking for things from garden to kitchen counter to plate or tabletop. When you do your tomatoes this way, it will sustain your family. If you're not canning and putting away tomatoes or selling tomatoes, it makes little to no sense for you to be pruning back your tomato, have them giving you a big harvest, and then that's it for the season. You have to either going back to replant or going back to the store to buy tomato. If you want that longevity, all you have to do, plant your tomatoes, allow them to grow out. Yes, if they're getting too bushy, too big, you can cut them back. But for something this height, this is about 4 feet high. For something this high, and I have it in a tomato cage, it is doing quite well for me. It is not hanging on the ground with fruits, which maybe if that was the case, I would have to be throwing away fruits and all those things. It's just giving me enough tomato for the family, and I have more than one of these plants. So just imagine how much tomatoes we can get within a week. And if your tomatoes can survive mild winter like Florida winter, where we go down into the 30s and 40s for our coolness here, if you can go through that, even if you're in a cooler state, and you can take your tomatoes all the way to that point where they're bearing, I think that is a win for any homesteader. Okay, so this is another plant right here that I planted 2 weeks before I did the video and show you guys. And this plant has about 9 tomatoes on it. Let me go in and show you. See, we have a baby tomato here. We have a few more here, down there. So this plant is here in the ground now for 4 weeks, and it only took me 6 to 8 days to get it to be rooted. And look at the size of this plant already. So if I had tried planting this from seed or going to the store and getting a tomato, I would be still waiting on this plant to be fruiting. And guys, when you plant your tomatoes from sucker, as in you cut a piece of limb from the mother plant and you replant it, as I said before, I've already said this, but I'm just going over it again, you will get back the exact same tasting tomato, because a lot of people love to ask you what variety you have, but you may have a variety of tomato and one is slightly a bit different from the other. But if you can continue to get your suckers from the exact same mother plant, it will be one taste across the board, one flavor across the board. And I've been doing this since 2019 with these plants here, and they are still bearing. Another thing, a plane is passing overhead, so let me just wait a bit. Another thing, guys, disease, pest. I hear a lot of homesteaders complain about diseases on your tomatoes. Yes, tomatoes, they're finicky at times and you will get diseases. However, if you want your tomato to be a bit more hardy, what you can do is continue to plant that same variety from that same exact mother plant, not the same variety from the store. Every time the season has come to an end, you go to the store and you get that same variety and replant it. That's not what I'm talking. What I am talking here is you get that exact same plant that is getting used to your backyard, acclimatize, and you want for these plants to adapt to your backyard, your environment, and start building up a resistance to those pests that are in your area, your grow zone, or whatever it may be. Because sometimes what happens is you may be homesteading in your community, but you have 4 or 5 other people homesteading in that same community that has a certain fungal disease on their plant, and it can spread to you, whether it be by wind dispersal or insect dispersal, but it can spread to your plant. But if you can have that exact same plant over a period of time, growing and getting used to that area, because tomato is really not a perennial. It can act as a perennial for some time, but it is really an annual. With the right climate, it can act like as a perennial, because I've grown tomatoes that stay for like 14-15 months, but that is just with the right climate. And for a lot of people that grew up in the Caribbean and certain parts, South America, and so they can attest that growing up there was this one tomato tree at the kitchen window, or the entry to the kitchen, that outside kitchen that we had, that it was just there forever and wouldn't die. So if you want to keep your plants, start practicing cutting suckers from the mother plant and replanting. And it's also a sufficient way. Yes, getting your seed, starting them, and all of those things, it's all good and it can work. However, starting your suckers from a mother plant is way faster and more convenient for the homesteader. So we have this young tomato plant that we planted about 4 weeks now, hanging down on the ground. We don't want the tomatoes to be touching the ground because that is another problem for them to get rat or fungal disease. So what I'm going to do, I have these white things that you see in my garden. It was a tent that I had that got blew down in one of the hurricanes. So I just saved these pieces and I use them back, repurpose them in the garden. So I'm just going to put this down in the ground and I'm going to affix or attach my tomato plant to it so that it can grow vertically. So I have these clamps that I get on Amazon. When I don't have them, I'll use cord. But if I do have them hanging around, I use them to clip the tomatoes because they work very well and they don't choke out the stem of the tomato when it's getting larger. So these are just large enough where the tomato can expand and the plant can grow and produce more for me. So if you're doing tomato this way and you can harvest even this amount of tomato per week, this is about 16 tomatoes. If you can harvest this amount of tomato per week, that should be good for most family. Unless you're going to the farmer's market, you would be in a different category from what I am explaining right now. What I am explaining is just for that gardener that want to sustain their family, feed the family, plant a bit in the backyard, just enough for the family to get along or to survive. This plant over here, you can see, it has a lot of dry leaves on it. Some people will tell you that it's a disease and you should cut them off. But this plant has done her time because it has been here since August of last year or just before. I planted these plants just a little before Labor Day weekend, so that would have been August of last year. So they're here about 9 months now, and they fruited throughout the Christmas holiday also, Thanksgiving. So I had fruits from them throughout the holidays those time, and it's still fruiting. And I'm not going to do away with this plant until it stops fruiting, because this is simple a homestead I'm running here, or a sufficient garden. Sufficient meaning that I can get enough food for me and my family. Not too much, not too little, but just enough. It can suffice us. So I'm not going to do away with this tomato plant as yet. However, she has done well. It is the same plant that I have all over the yard right here. I have some cherry tomatoes on the next side of the yard, but this one I'm going to be taking maybe a few suckers from it, maybe 2 or 3 suckers from this one, just to plant back in the same space. And I allow these tomatoes to be close. I have them about 12 inches apart, some even 6 inches apart. Reason why I do it that way, it gets real humid in central Florida, and even though tomato is a warm weather plant or a hot weather crop, it doesn't do well with that Florida sun standing over it in the middle of the day. Hence I allow them to bush, so they will bear less, however they will be more sturdy. I have a pumpkin right here. This is a pumpkin that I planted as soon as my cabbages started to fall. So I knew that by the time these cabbages were out, the pumpkin would have taken over this bed right here. So this is one, and I still haven't finished harvesting cabbage as yet. So let me just show you guys cabbages. So these cabbages have been here for a while. We have been eating cabbages. We have been giving away cabbages. However, we still have more. And what is happening now in my garden is that they're starting to get burnt. But if you look, nothing is eating up these leaves. Nothing at all is eating up these leaves. Reason being, I use the rabbit urine. I don't pour it on the leaves. I put it on the ground around the cabbages or all my plants, even the amaranth, because amaranth attract a lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot of worms. And if you can dilute the rabbit manure and put it around these plants, they will stay even out of season like this. So this is right here. This is not one of the bigger cabbage, but it is here. No worm, no bites on the outer leaf, nothing like that. They are just drying up now, and that is totally normal and natural. I'll just give these to the chickens. So YouTube land, internet land, that's it from Country Marro. I've hit 1,000 subscribers sometime this week or over the weekend. And I want to just say a big thank you to everyone that is watching the Country Marro channel. I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has subscribed, share my videos. I just want to thank you guys a whole lot. I don't have a whole lot to say, but it truly means a lot to me because it shows that people are watching and people want to go out and garden. People want to provide for themselves. People just don't want to sit down and wait for things to come to them or to always be going to the grocery store and don't know where your food is coming from. So thank you to 1,000 subscribers and God bless you all. See you in the next one. Country Marro.